Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
This is Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee, managing partner. Elevated Retirement Group is where you can find Sean and the team serving you in Salt Lake City area. They've got an office in Sandy as well as St. George, and you can find them online at elevatemyretirement.com. That's elevatemyretirement.com. You can also give them a call and get yourself onto the appointment calendar in either location by calling 855-50-RETIRE. That's 855-50-RETIRE. Simply call that number, leave your basic contact information, name and phone number, and the team will get you squared away with a time that's convenient for you to pop in and see them in one of those two locations. So if you hear something useful on the program and you want to learn more about it, or you're thinking about taking some action, always check with a qualified professional like Sean before you take any action. And that goes with really anything that you hear on the radio or airwaves or whatever the case is. Always check with a professional before you take some action. And Sean can certainly reach out and give you a hand with whatever that might be. 855-50-RETIRE. So we're going to talk about investing, finance, and retirement as we always do. And here's Sean. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great.
Very, very good. Anything cool in the exciting world of little kids baseball? How's that going with your son?
We are done.
Oh, you're done.
We're the boys, you could tell, and they played 26 games this year.
Wow, that's a lot for little guys.
Yeah, they played the spring season, and we did a little summer season. They were so amped up that they wanted to keep going. I think they ended up 24-2, so they had a good year. It was a good run.
Yeah, I would say so. I would take that 24-2. That's impressive, man. So very good. It must be all the coaching in that.
Probably.
He was the coach.
Yeah. It was probably the coach that he did everything possible to get him to get to be 26-0, but he just couldn't get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you listen to a prior show or earlier, Sean's the coach. So yeah, kind of just a little personal shameless plug there. All right, so let's talk about our topic this week, Sean. Did you ever watch that show, Mythbusters? It was on Discovery, I think. Cool show.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, where they do all kind of cool myths and stuff, Hollywood myths and various different things, like the one where you can, literally you can dive in water and swim and bullets won't kill you. Crazy to me. But yeah. Anyway, so they did a lot of really cool stuff on there. And I thought what we could do is have a little fun and maybe do some financial myths, kind of play a little financial Mythbusters, if you will. And I think a lot of times when it was a myth, they would say busted. And if it was plausible, okay, that could happen, they would say plausible kind of thing. So I'm going to give you some myths, some financial myths, and we'll let you do your thing here and see what you think about some of these. Shifting from stocks to bonds removes the volatility from your portfolio. What you got?
I would say that's probably a myth. And a lot of people think, well, as I get older, I need to shift from more stocks and equities to be more fixed income. Which, right now, there's issues there with that. We just saw the Fed lower rates again.
Right.
And so it has a massive effect on the bond market. Mm-hmm. Lower interest rates tends to create a war on seniors and savers, so then they have to go in other places to find yield. Whereas even in a lower interest rate environment, as interest rates start to rise, and we've got this pullback on the bond market as well. So there is some negativity that could potentially happen in a portfolio. I would say that when you start to look at, how does my portfolio need to be allocated? It needs to be built and structured based on what a plan needs and not what sort of allocation you think or
like the traditional 60
you should have,
like the traditional 60-40, right? That's the way it used to be, but that a lot of times just doesn't fit for people.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's okay, use this 60-40 or this 20-25 portfolio, and it's going to be algorithmic and it's going to shift as you get closer to retirement. But in a lot of cases, if you run analysis on those portfolios,
right,
the risk levels tend to be higher than most people think.
Right.
And when you start to look at the issues that come there, they're all prepackaged. There's no customization that comes within a plan. And when I'm building an income plan, or if I'm building my own personal retirement plan, I want some customization. I want it to be built to me, not built to the masses.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think that that's probably where that myth comes from, that shifting from stocks to bonds removes the volatility. It's one that's been around, something we've heard for a very long time, and that might used to have been the case, but things are obviously a lot different now. And so, again, you want to make sure that you are getting some of that customization. You're making sure that it's the right setup for you, because everybody's situation, honestly, truly is different when it comes to this. We have a lot of generalities where things are similar, which is why we can kind of talk about generalities here on the program. But when it gets right down to the nitty gritty, everybody's situation is different. All right, so we'll say that one's probably busted. All right, so once you've retired, life insurance is no longer necessary.
It depends what you use the insurance for.
We'll call this one plausible then.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at life insurance, why is life insurance used? It's used to replace income.
Right.
You know, somebody, if we were to pass away in retirement, my wife is going to lose a Social Security or an income source. So I want to have life insurance to replace that income. Debt replacement, you know, if you're carrying some debt and you want that knocked out when you retire or when you pass away, the quickest, cleanest way to do that is to buy life insurance to pay off debt.
Right.
And then there's the more advanced reasons why you'd need life insurance or why you'd want life insurance. And that gets into looking at, you know, it's more estate planning issues. Do I want that next generation of a beneficiary to have some tax efficient money that comes into them? Or do I want to do some advanced planning for my surviving spouse? So to give you an example, let's say that I have $1 million IRA. When I pass away, my spouse is going to receive that as a spousal IRA rollover, so there's no taxes. But when I pass away, and we'll talk about this as well, my wife then becomes a single tax filer, so her tax rates actually go up. So by doing some planning and say, you know what, I want to buy a life insurance policy, you know, death benefit of $400,000, and I pass away, my wife can then take my IRA, convert it to a Roth, use that money, that death benefit money, to pay taxes on the conversion, because you have to pay taxes when you convert.
Oh, yeah.
But all of that $1 million is now tax-free.
That would be appealing.
So there's some more advanced planning techniques that you can do,
right,
and pieces that you can put into the plan to make life insurance valuable.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could have a purpose. I think sometimes we think, well, kids are grown, they're out of college, whatever, I don't need life insurance anymore for that kind of thing, like the traditional reasons we maybe thought about having it. But to your point, there are some other ways that it could be beneficial depending on how you've got, you know, the things you've got in your plan and the things that you need it to do. So that's something to keep in mind there. You're listening to Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee of Elevated Retirement Group. He's the managing partner there. 855-50-RETIRE is your number to call. 855-50-RETIRE. We're playing a little financial Mythbusters here. So this one's definitely a classic one. You're going to need less income when you're retired than you need when you're working. A lot of times you'll hear 85% or whatever is a number, but I don't know. I argue that I think you would need more, because especially in the early years, because you're going to, you know, hopefully you're going to be out partying, right? It's retirement. Woohoo. You're going to be taking trips and doing things.
I guess the question would be less income than what?
Oh,
so less
okay.
income than you're making, you know, because some people say, Sean, I just spend what I make.
Right. Okay.
Well, what's your real income need? Well,
is it $5,000 a month, or what is it? Right.
And it's one of those, you know, the 85% rule that you hear is another one of those rule of thumb type deals. And I don't like to live in the rule of thumb, because if I go into retirement tomorrow, I want to make sure that I have my plan dialed in, and maybe I do need less income to live. You know, I met with a family the other day, and we were talking about this, and we finalized their plan. Well, yeah, they needed $5,000 a month for lifestyle, but then they wanted $20,000 a year to travel and live, right? So they had their essentials, but then they had their lifestyle stuff where they wanted to travel and do all sorts of stuff. So getting a really clear picture of what those expenses are and what they need to be is really the first step in the process of starting to create your plan. Because I don't want to go in arbitrarily and be like, oh, well, I just need this much. Well, let's get that number buttoned up and tightened up.
Yeah.
Because then you can start to build a plan on top of that. I don't know. Maybe you need less. Maybe you need more. It's all based on what your lifestyle looks like.
Well, let's stay in that same vein, Sean, for a second with these myths. And, you know, if you're thinking you're going to need less income, you're probably feeling like you're going to be in a lower tax bracket once you retire. That's another one we've heard for a very long time, is that you're going to be in that lower bracket because I guess you assume that you'll be making less income or whatever the case is. But that's not always the case either. So is this one plausible, or is this one a myth?
Let's just take it the same way. Like, hey, if I need $80,000 a year, that's what I need. Am I going to be in a lower tax bracket? Maybe. If your income when you were working was $250,000 and you only need 80, well, you're probably going to be in a lower bracket.
Right.
But there's this...
If you're maintaining that level, though, right?
Yeah, if you're maintaining what you originally wanted or needed, or what your income was when you were working, good chance that you're not going to be in a lower tax bracket. And the one thing that I can't control what our government's going to do from a tax perspective.
I don't think they can either.
6 years.
I don't think they can control it.
We have no idea, right? I don't have
no.
any idea where tax rates are going to go. So the idea of building my plan around being in a lower tax bracket makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Let's build a plan that's based on current tax rates. Yes, because that's what we know what they are. but with the flexibility to adjust as tax rates change.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if this one comes from where more people end up relying more heavily on Social Security in retirement, and that's kind of where it comes from. And again, it would be a drop in income, right? They're basically living on a smaller amount than they lived on when they were in their working years. And so I kind of wonder if that's where that myth is, kind of got originated from. All right, well, we got time for one more, I think, here. So, okay, how about this one, Sean? Financial planning today is so much easier to do without a professional because of all the technology that's available.
Totally.
I mean, it can be, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I still want to talk to somebody. I can go to Teladoc and find out what's wrong with me, sort of, and get some prescriptions. But I think I'd rather go see an actual person. This is the same thing to me.
I haven't found a software yet that can do what a human does when it comes to planning. Yeah, now there's the robo-advisors.
Right.
The straight insurance companies that you can go to. But when you start to look at pure financial planning that focuses on creating an income strategy, incorporating the income with the investments, and incorporating tax planning, healthcare, and estate planning, all of those areas, there's not a holistic software that has the artificial intelligence to do that for somebody, to build the plan, to put the thought into it. It's just not out there quite yet. You can get an investment strategy super easy. Go to Betterment, go to Vanguard. That's not a full-blown financial plan.
Right. And a
That's
retirement
an investment
plan.
strategy.
Yeah, I mean, think about your CPA. You could go to TurboTax, but I guarantee you that a good CPA working with you on a regular basis is going to be able to help you be more tax efficient than just plugging the numbers into TurboTax. And I think it's the same thing with retirement planning. Like you said, you can go and do some of this stuff online or digitally, but I would rather, in this situation, when you're talking about retirement planning, I'd rather, what if something changes on the fly? For example, let's say I'm of retirement age and I'm getting close and I'm working with you, Sean. My daughter or granddaughter decides to get married and she wants to do some exotic, destination wedding or something. And that's kind of come out of the blue. And, some of that's just coming in and wanting to talk to somebody and say, Sean, I need your help. Here's what's going on. Having that human interaction, I think, to talk through, ways that we could fund that wedding, a lot more beneficial than just clicking some things on a mouse and then finding out, can I do it or can I not do it?
That's exactly it. It's helping to make decisions and helping to make decisions smartly. We've got all sorts of families that call us for, hey, I want to pull money out to go on this trip. Where do we pull it from?
Right.
Okay, let's strategically think about that because we don't want to withdraw funds from the wrong area in the wrong point in time.
Right.
Has the market corrected on us? Well, we don't want to pull money from and have to sell off a bunch of shares.
Yeah.
Let's pull it from the cash holdings. So there's some thought that goes into building the plan. And there are a lot of people out there that have done it themselves for so long. Like, Sean, I just haven't been able to put all of the pieces together quite yet. And that's why they're here at the office. That's why they work with us, because that's our job.
Exactly. There you go. All right. Well, that's our financial Mythbuster segment here on the program. This is Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee. 855-50-RETIRE, your number to call if you would like to have a conversation. Get yourself on the calendar for a no-cost, no-obligation chat with Sean and the team at Elevated Retirement Group. You can reach out to him again at 855-50-RETIRE. That's 855-50-RETIRE. Check him out online at elevatemyretirement.com. That's elevatemyretirement.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well on Apple or Google or whatever podcast platform of choice it is that you happen to listen to. And as always, you can, you can stop in and see them in the Elevated Retirement Group. They are serving the Salt Lake City area with an office in Sandy as well as St. George. And Sean, I'll talk to you a little later on. I'll see you next time here on the program.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
We'll see you soon here on Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee of Elevated Retirement Group. 855-50-RETIRE.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, and SEC.